I was invested, like I was like there ready to marry this company. I was like, you're not turning your back now when you're already entering the church.
I've already spent way too much time stalking you. Okay.
Yeah. I was like, exactly. I know too much about all of you.
It's the Germany Experience, the podcast about life in Germany as seen through the eyes of outsiders. I'm your host, Sean. Visit the website, thegermanyexperience.de. And if you want to get in touch, email me at info@thegermanyexperience.de. And my guest is already with me this week. It's Veronica from Mexico. Hello.
Hi. Thank you for having me.
Thanks for coming on. And I just wanted to say before we even start that I must apologize because we were supposed to record this interview last week. And what happened was my kids got sick. And then I completely forgot about Veronica because it was kind of I think at the weekend the kids got sick and then things were pretty crazy. And then on the Monday morning we were supposed to have our chat and I completely forgot that we were supposed to have it. I was meaning to write to you to say it's not going to happen. And then I forgot to write to you. And then you wrote to me saying, Sean, where are you? Are we talking today or not? So I have to apologize about that. And as it turns out, my kids were sick and
my kids were sick as well. So
your kids were sick as well. So it worked out kind of well, right?
Yeah, perfect. Because otherwise I would have had two crazy toddlers in the background and that would have been interesting, of course.
Yes, it would have been interesting. I guess it would make for interesting audio, maybe not the kind of discussion that we were hoping to have.
Yeah, that's right.
But having sick kids at home is no fun because, especially like how sick were your kids?
They were sick enough to not be able to go to school, but not sick enough to like not destroy my house. Like, mommy, I'm bored. Mommy, I want this. Mommy, mommy, I want ice cream. Can we go to the playground?
Yeah, that is the worst. When kids are exactly like you say, the kindergartens or the crippers won't take them in, but they're at home and you can't get anything else done. So it wasn't like I could say I'll work or I'll do a podcast interview because they're healthy enough to be running around and bothering you and wanting your time.
And they're like, why are you working? Are you done working? It's 5 minutes already. Are you done with work already, Mom? Are you?
I don't know. It's just 9 a.m., kids. So settle down there.
I know. It's crazy. So, yeah, my house was a hot mess the whole week, trying to work and trying to entertain kids and go through a minefield of Lego Duplos all over the floor.
Funny. It's funny you should say that because we hold out our Duplos from our Dachboard and we've got like an attic where we store toys that we don't want. And the reason we don't have these downstairs is because it's always a mess. What they do is they just empty the whole thing out. And then those things lie there. No, they don't even play with them sometimes. They just empty them out on the floor. Like, if you're going to empty it out on the floor, at least do something with them. Like, build something.
My kids are the exact same way. But we brought them down also from the attic because we had to work. And we thought it would entertain them. And, I mean, a little bit it worked, but a little bit, like, destroyed my sanity and my husband's sanity.
Yes, I know. So anyway, our Duplo has gone back into the attic for now. We're okay. Your guys are better. We don't have to keep you distracted anymore. We put it back.
Yeah.
But anyway, and as it turns out, I hate when my kids get sick because it means I'm going to get sick as well. It's invariably I get sick with them, and that was the case last week. But anyway, here we are, Veronica. We're here to talk about it, but we're going to talk about a lot of different things. I think you've got quite an interesting story to tell, and but before we even start with that, maybe tell me what your background is, where you're from, and how it is that you've ended up in Germany.
Okay. Well, I am from Mexico originally, from a big city, which will be interesting later on. That's why I mentioned it's a very big city, called Puebla. And I've been in Germany for about 2.5 years now. Yeah, 2.5 years, a little bit longer. And I got here because of love. No, back in Mexico, I met my husband. He was working in Mexico for some years, and we started dating. We fell in love. We got married. We had kids, etc., etc., etc. And then we moved to Germany.
Okay.
When his contract ended, and there was no chance for extension anymore, and so we moved here to a very, very small village in Bavaria.
Okay. So how big is the city that you lived in, like population-wise, in Mexico?
Like 3 million.
And what's the population of your village?
Like 5,000.
Okay, so
It's
so
like,
we're talking huge difference here.
yeah, yeah, it's like the size of a neighborhood. Like, not even, like, oh, I can't. Oh my god.
So that must be an interesting difference. Like, how is that for you, going from such a massive city where there's always something happening? I think I can't even imagine what that must be like, and then moving to a small Bavarian village.
I gotta be honest, it was a huge shock for me. I mean,
Mhm.
the first time I got to see the house, it was super funny because we were on vacation here and we came to see the house where we were gonna live. And then we left the Autobahn and it was like fields, then forest, then fields, then forest. And I was like, where are we going? Like, what is this? Are we like driving to the end
Does
of the world?
anyone actually live out here? Like,
Yeah. Then we got to the village and the house is a little bit at the end. And past our backyard there's nothing, there's just like fields and forest, like. And I was honestly like, I started crying. Like, I was like,
oh
what
my god.
is this place? Like, where? Like, I was in such a shock. And when we moved, first of all, I gotta say, we moved in at the end of December.
Mm.
Yeah.
Right, which is
So
which is winter and gray and depressing in
depressing.
Germany at the best
Yes.
of times. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. And I come from Mexico, which is a very sunny country, a very alive country. So,
yeah, yeah,
in winter, there's sun. There's actually very, very bright sun. It
yeah,
might be cold, but the sun is always there.
yeah.
And here we arrived and it was dark and it was wet and there was snow and it was cold and I was like, and it was quiet.
Yeah.
I mean, in winter, people don't leave their houses a lot,
Yes.
And in a small village, I was like, did we move to a ghost town? Like, I have not seen a human being for days. Like,
It's so true. Winter is a difficult time, I think, at the best of times. But if you're moving to a city, it's a bit better. Like in city, there's at least things going on. Like if you were in Berlin or Munich or something, there would be something happening. You'd see people. But if in these villages, I've experienced it as well because I also live in a village in Bavaria, and it's exactly like you say. You just don't see people. So not only do you have this gray, wet, depressing weather, but you also you just don't see other people. And if you're used to it from a big city like you, that must be such a
and
big shock.
it's so quiet. I mean, I still remember the first night, so quiet and so dark. And I was like, I swear, like, and of course the safety measures are different, right? So
Yeah.
I was like, I feel like somebody's gonna come through our backyard and it's gonna murder us, and nobody will find out for
No
like
one's gonna,
a
because
week.
there's no one around. No one will even know.
Exactly. I was like, we will die and nobody will know.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because I was so stressed that it was so quiet. I was like, why
Yeah.
is it so quiet? Like, what is wrong with
I
this place?
literally don't hear anything. Yes, out in the villages, I think in the cities it's different because it's apartments and stuff. But also out in the villages, the people have very low fences, and sometimes they don't even have fences at the edges of their properties. Right, so the properties are kind of open. And for someone who comes from South Africa and someone who comes from Mexico, that's weird because I would assume in Mexico it's similar to South Africa where we have large walls and electric fencing around properties and security guards everywhere. And then you come and live in the village where it's just kind of, it feels very open. And I think you feel very vulnerable if you come from a country like we do.
Yeah, yeah. The first time my mom came to visit, I mean, and even to this day, she'll call me and she's like, "Honey, are you sure you don't want to put like security cameras around? Like, maybe like can you get like a thicker like lock for the gate for the fence in the back?" Like, she's
Yeah,
still
yeah.
super stressing about this, because she's like, oh my god.
It's just different. It's very different to what we used to.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's a big shock. I gotta be honest, and it takes a while. For me, it was sometimes still like I thought I was all like settled in, to be honest, and then this past week that the weather totally changed.
Yeah.
Like the first 2 days that it got gray, I was like, oh,
Oh, no.
how am I gonna survive this again? You know? I was like, no, I lied. I am not used to this weather anymore. I can't wait till sun comes back in April.
Yeah, it's only another 6 months before we see the sun again, so that's fine. Yeah, it is a tough time, and arriving in December is very difficult. We moved to Germany with my wife's job, and there was someone who said, just wait, don't go yet, delay the contract until April, March or April, because arriving in December is particularly difficult. And we didn't think anything of it, but we took their advice, and my wife moved the contract, and we came in March, end of March, beginning of April, just as the weather was really getting nice. Um, but in our first winter, we realized, this would have been difficult. So how did you get through that first winter?
Okay. The other thing about my first winter is that we arrived, and about a month and a half later, COVID arrived.
Oh my God.
Yeah, so that was like, oh, you thought you were doing well. Let me pass you to like level 20 now. Let me throw in a global pandemic. Yeah. So it was I we moved here. It was me, my husband, our 2-year old, our 6-month old, and two dogs.
Right. Two dogs as well.
Yeah. So first of all, it was not such an easy move, of course, because
Yeah.
babies and kids always make things like a million times more difficult,
Yeah,
more
I can
stressful,
imagine.
and so on. And we had to look for the kita, and my son had a place at the kita because he was in like a daycare in Mexico. So we thought, well, we continue with this routine and whatnot. Of
Yeah.
course, it's totally different
Yeah.
what they do, how they are, how the teachers are, and so on. And he went for like a few weeks, and then they brought him back. The quarantine, whatever, started, everything closed, and so on.
Ah,
So yeah, it was very hard. I was literally depressed.
yeah.
Honestly,
Yeah.
I was like, I don't know if I can do this. This is crushing my soul a little bit. It was very hard.
Yeah.
It was hard. I was really looking forward to meeting people, to making friends, to I thought in the daycare, all the mom, like it is in a lot of countries. That's how it is usually in Mexico. And I've lived in the US, and I've had the chance to live in also in Canada, in Spain. I lived in the UK, and I never had the struggle that I had when I moved to Germany. Like it was hard. The first, not even the first winter, I would say the first year and a half, I was like, I don't know if I can do this.
Yeah.
Like I don't know if I can actually live here. I'm literally getting depressed. I am crying all the time. I am fighting with my partner. I'm angry, like
Yeah.
I can see it. I can see it reflecting on my life with my kids, with my partner. It's yeah.
And what do you think was making it the most difficult? I mean, you said you lived in America, Canada, Spain, UK. I didn't realize you had lived in so many other countries. And then you say that the German move was the most difficult of all of those others. Like when you were living there, were some of those other moves also with kids?
No. So
Ah, so
then, of course, yeah.
okay, so that was a big factor, I would assume.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely. And also, I mean, all the other moves also had some sort of an expiration date, like
Mm,
I'm moving for a year, I'm moving for 2 years, I'm
yeah.
moving for 6 months, I'm moving for whatever. And here it was like we're moving, but there was the I don't know if I'm going back to Mexico or when I'm going back to Mexico. It gets to a point when you look at yourself and you're like, will is this the country where I'm dying? Like, are they gonna bury me in like a German cemetery? Like I am I ready for that?
Can you imagine how much bureaucracy there is if you die here in Germany? I don't want to imagine how much the bureaucracy is. But the you made a brief point, which I want to come back to, just when you were talking about the mothers in the kindergarten. You were about to make a comparison to Mexico, I guess, or your
Yes.
experiences were there. Like, what is the experience? I assume you were going to say that you're used to more friendliness with the other mothers in the kita, or
Yeah, like for example, something that I love and something that I miss still about the kita and the kindergarten in Mexico. I mean, there is like this WhatsApp group with the moms, you get together for breakfast, you meet at the park. Like when there's someone new, if you run into someone new at the park with a kid and they're like, I just moved here and I feel I don't know anybody, that person will be like, oh, no, I've gotcha. Like, we're friends now. You're coming with me to meet my family, to meet my friends, to meet my
Yeah.
neighbors. Like, you're
Yeah.
set. And all
Yeah.
of a sudden, you have something planned for like the rest of your life with people. You know, like everyone's there. And also with moms, there's always something going on, and you get invited to this, and then you get invited to that. And here I arrived, and I mean, I had a bad German. I gotta be honest. I came with an A1 in a Bavarian village when everybody's
Yeah.
Irish, right? So let's just be honest about that. But I would come and be like, "Hi, I'm Veronica. I come from Mexico. I am new." And people would be like, "Oh."
Hello.
I was like, "Maybe we want to change phones and like get together." And they were like, no." Like, "Oh, okay."
Okay. This is going to be hard. This is
Yeah,
going to be hard.
sure. Like it was like, wait, what's this like? This is weird. Like,
Yeah.
I even tried, like, I made it a point at the beginning to smile at people all the time to see the shock on their faces, like
Yeah.
when a stranger smiles at you, like I could see them like, why is
What?
this woman
Is she
smiling at me?
yeah.
Am I supposed to know her?
Yeah. Is she gonna kill me?
Yeah, yeah, like people will be like, what's happening?
Yeah, it is difficult because there's a very different mindset to, I guess, what we used to. It's the same in South Africa. People are a lot more open, and exactly like you said, when people are there and they're new, people are very quick to bring in the new people. But I guess it is more difficult in the villages where I know that there are WhatsApp groups because we're on WhatsApp groups with other mothers and things like that.
How did
But
you get it? How did you get in?
just by I think it was the German. I think that the Germans are thinking about that foreigner aspect when they meet you, especially in the villages. Like, if we bring her into our WhatsApp group, do we have to speak English now or whatever? I don't know. I think the German might be a part of that consideration, and I've been here for long enough that my German is decent, so it was fine. And I think we make friends easier now, my wife and I, than we did in the beginning. But we had very similar experiences to you in the beginning.
Yeah, it's and also I feel like in the villages it's a lot this mindset of, we have our friend group. We've been
Yeah,
here, we've
yeah,
lived here, we are from here. We don't need new people.
yes, yes. Their grandmothers went to kindergarten in this village together, and then their mothers went and fathers went to
Exactly.
kindergarten and school here, and they're still here. And they've got their support systems. They have the families. The mother and father
Yeah.
generally either live in the same house as them or in the same village, and they don't need new people.
Because now that my German's better, I've talked to other mothers who are actually German and who actually come from other parts of Germany, and they're like, it's
Yeah,
super hard.
it is.
Like, so it's not the fact that I'm a foreigner.
Yeah,
It's the fact that anybody from outside of Bavaria is a foreigner, like,
exactly,
or
exactly.
outside the village.
Exactly. I'm friends here with. I often tell the story on the podcast. I'm friends with people from northern Germany here, and we're the same level of Ausländer. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, definitely.
yeah, it doesn't matter that I come from a different continent. We're the same level of
Yeah,
Ausländer.
oh yeah. Except when it comes to job finding or something like this, then
Yes.
there are definitely levels of
Yeah.
foreigners, and I was in the
Yeah.
bottom of the food chain on this case. Like,
Yeah. So let's talk about your experiences with finding a job. What were you trained as, and what were you hoping to find as a job here in Germany?
well, so I have actually a bachelor's in art history, literature, and philosophy.
Hmm.
And then I have another bachelor's in linguistics, and so applied linguistics and language education. So I'm an English teacher and Spanish teacher. That's
Okay.
that's what I was doing. I
Right.
was working at Volkswagen as a language teacher, and I was working also on intercultural communication, and I was doing some literature. I was a literature teacher for a while also, and working on like topics regarding like diversity and so on, and like
Mm.
things like this. But my idea first was that I wanted to teach. Yeah, I
Right.
wanted to continue being a teacher. But I didn't know all the surprises that were gonna await me. I think finding a job in Germany is very cruel as a foreigner, to be honest.
Okay.
It's
Yeah.
like it's very hard. The thing is, for me, at least my experience was that I applied to a lot of different companies, to a lot of different schools, yeah. I was seeing posts like people saying we need Spanish teachers for gymnasium. We need English teachers. Yeah, and I would apply with years of experience.
Yeah.
Like all of the international certifications you could possibly expect in a language teacher, I have them. And they would be like, "Oh, that is super good. I mean, your background is amazing. Like your work history, your stuff. But the thing is, we can't give you a job." I would be like, "Why?" They're like, "Well, because yeah, to be a teacher, you need to have studied your bachelor's degree in Germany, preferably in Bavaria,
Okay.
and you didn't." And I was like, um, "Okay, but can I not do this like equivalent thing when like they were
Yeah.
like, for
Yeah.
teaching it doesn't work,
Wow.
because we need our teachers to be the way we need." I was like, "But you need teachers, right? You need teachers. You need
Yeah.
language teachers.
And
Something
they really do. They
doing."
really do,
Yeah, yeah.
Veronica. Like I've experienced even out here where I'm in, especially in these villages, there is a shortage of teachers. There's always a shortage of teachers. They've always got 2 or 3 shortages of teachers. They're always looking for someone, and yet they have all of these strict rules about who can't apply, and it drives me crazy.
It's ridiculous. I was like, I have more experience than the person that you're gonna end up hiring. I'm
Yeah.
almost sure.
Yeah.
And yet you don't even want to hear it, just because like you're great, but I
Yeah.
feel like that is the experience most of the time. Oh, your experience is awesome, but
That's yeah.
and it's very frustrating. Like it really crushes your self-esteem, and like, I don't know, it's very hard. At some point I was like, I don't know what to do anymore. And
Yeah.
like even at one school once they were like, "Yeah, but if you want, we need help with cleaning after school," or something like this. And I was so
Oh my God.
offended,
Yes.
which should only because of the fact that I was like, "N- thank you. Yes, I am looking for a job, and I
Yeah.
think it's a very honorable job. But I did not spend 7 years in university
Yeah.
to be
Yeah.
told that the only job you can offer me is a cleaning job."
Yeah. So then like how did you feel when you realized that you probably weren't going to be able to teach here?
Well, then someone suggested I go back to university and do the bachelor's in education again at the
Right.
University of Regensburg. And I was like, "Ha, you want me to do a bachelor's again with two
With
toddlers?
tickets.
Like, you're kidding, right?"
It's not gonna happen.
No,
Yeah.
hard
Just
no. I am
just
not.
no.
Yeah, like I'm not even gonna think about it. Thanks, but no. So then I decided maybe what I needed to do was to change my career. I mean, we were locked up because of COVID, right? There was
Yeah.
time to like learn some more, and then I started researching. Like I started thinking, what kind of jobs would actually make me happy? What kind of companies? What I was like, I think I'm at a point where I need to find something that really makes me happy. Otherwise, I'm not gonna make it.
Yeah.
Germany. Like I will not be able to be happy in Germany if I don't find a job that brings me joy
Yeah.
somehow. So I was losing myself on LinkedIn, like just scrolling and scrolling. And in the end, I decided maybe what I need is I need to find a small company, because big companies will never let me go through the process of recruiting,
Mm.
because they're so set in their rules and their tick boxes that they will never look past that. And already my background would be like, yeah, but she studied literature. What do I need her for? You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
so I was searching for small companies, for startups, and things like this. And I found one. I loved the company. Then I started stalking everybody in the company. It was a very small company at the time. Like, I think I went onto every single profile. I read all of the website. I checked all of the people. I saw the articles that the founders had written, and I was like, this is where I need to be.
Okay.
Like, I
What was the connection to you? What was the thing that drew you to the company?
the values of the company seemed so in sync with my own
Okay.
that I was like, this feels like it's the place where I need to work. Like,
Yeah.
it has such a good soul, I would say,
Right.
that it just matched very well with how I feel about life and about work and about people. Like, we just seemed like a very good match.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
So
So you started
that
stalking them,
being
as
said,
one does. You
yeah,
started
yeah. So
stalking
I
them.
started stalking them. Yes. So it's like a it's a like IT data product and so on. So I was like, I have literally no background on this company. Like I know nothing about what they do. So I started working. I started learning. I got into some Udacity courses, some like all of these online courses to
Mm,
learn about data and to learn about product management and to learn about agile and all this stuff. And then a few months after, I was really feeling very down about everything. And I was like, I'm just going to apply.
okay.
I'm going to apply, but I'm also going to apply to others just in case
Yeah.
because this is a
Yeah.
very long shot. I told my husband, and he was like, you're never going to get it. Like,
Okay.
why? They're not going to hire you. Like, I know that you're like super obsessed with this company and these people, but I think you need to be realistic and it might like just don't get your hopes up.
And your husband is German, obviously, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
He was like, honey, like, that's great, but just don't get your hopes up
Yeah.
because there's a very big chance that it's not going to work.
Sure.
And I was like, no, yeah, it will. And he was like, oh. I think he was already like setting himself to like, oh my God, she's going to cry for like a
I'm
week.
I'm going to have to encourage her after this one because I can see she's going to have a heart broken.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He was already like, oh, geez. So I got LinkedIn Premium so I could write the CEO personally and tell him,
Wow.
I love your company. Can I
Wow.
work for you? I think that's literally how my message starts. I was like, I love your company
Okay.
or something like this. Then I also applied through like, through the normal like initiative, Bewerbung,
Oh, yes.
because there was no role for me, of course.
Right.
Then I also sent an email to the general company email and. And surprisingly, I got an email back
Okay.
saying, "Hey, let's get to know each other." And I was like, "Yeah!"
I can imagine.
I was so excited. So
Yeah.
I had my get to know, and after that first interview, I was even more sure. I was like, this is where I go. Then we had it's usually like 3 interviews, right? So there's a get to know, then there's a skill check, and then the last one
Yeah.
with a case presentation. So I did the second one, it went also really well, and they were like, all right, so let's send you the third one for the case and whatever. And then the third one, I was actually interviewing with the head of the people department. Well, at that point, he was the only one in the people department, and the CEO. And he was telling me, he was like, I really think you fit so well into the company's culture. Like, it's really great. And I see your motivation and I see how much you want to work.
But
But he's like, the thing is, we're very small, and of course I cannot give you a job as a I don't know, data analyst or like a project manager, like anything like this. I can't, because you don't have the experience, and right now we're building ourselves, right? So
yeah.
it's like I'm not sure how this could actually work, but I do see what you mean.
Hmm.
And in that moment I was like, oh, no, 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 no.
We've come too
You,
far. You don't understand how this ends.
I was like, you don't know yet, but you will love me.
You are going to hire me and you're going to love me.
Yeah, yeah. So I was like, listen, I have an idea. Because I was invested, like I was like there ready to marry this company. I was like, you're
Yeah,
not
yeah.
turning your back now when you're already entering the church.
I've already spent way too much time stalking you. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. I was like, exactly. I know too much about all of you that I will not let you go. And I was like, listen, you know what? I will do anything. I will be your assistant. And he was like, I already have an assistant. I was like, I will like be your assistant's assistant. I was like, you can eat, I will work for free. Like, I
Wow.
will do whatever it takes, but
Wow.
I need to work for you. And he was like, I think honestly, he was looking at me like, what is happening? He's like, I need to let's think about it. We'll talk, blah, blah, blah. And after our call ended, I sent him an email. I was really like, listen, I know that it's hard, like I know that I don't have the skills. I know that I don't have the experience, but I know that I have the motivation, and I
Mm.
know that I love your company in a way that very few people besides you love it. Like,
Right.
I
Right.
really am so into this company that I'm willing to do whatever to get a chance,
Yeah.
like
No.
whatever it takes. Like, I will give you blood, sweat, and tears if I have to. I really want an opportunity.
Right.
And he wrote me back and he's like, I have an idea. How about we try an internship for 3 months? We test it out. You can help us in the business development. I have some ideas and we could use your help. And then let's see how it goes. I mean, 3 months. The
Wow.
worst thing that can happen is that it doesn't work out, right? But I really love your motivation and all of this. So let's try it.
Yeah.
A paid internship, I must say. Like, he
Yeah.
was
He's not going to
like,
give it to you. Yeah.
yeah, he
That's
was like,
cool.
I will not let you work for free, but let's do it like this. And I
Yeah.
was like, all right. And I remember that day, my husband was like, I cannot believe.
How did you do that?
He is still in shock. He's like, I cannot believe you actually got them to hire you. And that was November of last year. So almost a year ago.
Yeah.
So I've been there for 11 months. The internship went really well. Then I got a normal full-time contract, like a normal contract. And yeah, I started in the business development and the sales part and whatnot. And now I'm also taking under my wing all that has to do with diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, and a little bit about yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm still as in love as day one.
Okay, that was going to be my question. Is like, has being in that situation opened your eyes to things different? But you still feel the same way about the
Oh
company.
my god, yes. I am.
Okay.
I'm still like obsessed with the like, I love the company. I could almost say even more. Even one time my husband was joking. He's like, if this company were a man, I would be afraid that you'd be,
You would be gone.
yeah, you would be out of the door. Like, he was like, it's funny how this can change an experience, because
Yeah.
ever since I started this job and I started to realize that there were people that were seeing me for myself and not just like the foreigner wife of this person or the
Yeah.
foreigner mother of this
Yeah.
person, but just me for what I could bring, even though, or despite the fact that I was not German, that I was not, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like,
Exactly.
that totally changed my life in Germany. Really, this beginning, and I feel like a lot of people share this, this feeling of Germany crushing your soul, like killing you from the
Yeah.
inside because
Yes.
you are a foreigner. It's very, very hard. Like, I know about this migration grief, right? A lot of people talk about it, but I feel like, and I wrote about this on LinkedIn once,
Yes, you did. Yeah.
it really hurts in a deeper way. I feel like it's not that you're homesick. Of course you are.
Hmm.
Wherever you may be from, you're somewhere else, you will be homesick at some point. But this really gives you like an inferiority complex, like
Yeah.
it destroys your self-esteem and your self-confidence, and it's very, very hard to feel that you're not good enough,
Yeah.
because that reflects then in your personal life as well.
Yeah. It is a massive effect. It can have a huge effect on you in many different ways. Like you said, I think a job is a big part of it. Feeling that connection, feeling like you're contributing something as well, and that you're more, like you said, more than just a mother of these kids or a husband or a wife. That there's more to you than that, and that you're, yeah, it's just a general feeling of worthiness, and that's something that I often say is just sometimes you just need to realize that it's not you. New foreigners need to keep that in mind, that it's not them necessarily, it's the circumstances that they're in. It's like but it's very difficult to not let it affect your self-confidence.
It's the thing, yeah, because I mean, you're getting it from everywhere, like, it's not like one person is telling you this, but a whole country somehow is telling you this.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to come out of it and to be like, no, it's not me.
Yeah.
It's really not me, because it really makes you feel like it's you.
It does.
And it's so hard. And I see it, and I see how a lot of people just decide to stay in their bubbles with other expats from their same area because
Yeah.
it's so hard to break in and to make a friend, and everybody says, yeah, but once you make a friend in Germany, then they're your friends for life. Yes, but for heaven's sake, how long do I have to try? I mean,
Do I have to try my whole life to get a friend for life?
I know, like, I know that they're good friends and that it's worth it, but
Yeah.
come on, give
Yeah.
this girl a break and just like talk to me.
You mentioned that LinkedIn post, and I just want to, you sent it to me just before our interview, and I really liked it because you explain a lot of the difficulties that you've had to face, and also, what, like you said, the feelings are a lot of like, Germany killed my soul. I feel useless. I think that's another thing that a lot of people feel. I can't recognize myself. You're a completely different person. You don't have your job. Your job your jobs, I mean, for in your case, your job certifications and everything were meaningless here in Germany. So that's also like a whole chunk of you is taken away. And then you also here, I feel like I can't be me. I think these are all valid things. Like, your identity is stripped away, and that is a huge thing. But what I really liked about the post is you go through all of that, and then you talk about what you've learned. So I'll
Yeah,
read you what you've learned in case you've forgotten, Veronica.
please.
The first thing that you wrote is, it's not about skills, it's also about will. And it's way easier to train skills than attitude. And I think that is, from what I heard of your story, that is a big aspect of it. This attitude of like, no, I want to work there. Let's talk about it, and trying to convince them, going the extra mile, and putting yourself, I guess you made yourself vulnerable, because if they rejected you after you saying all of that, I really want to work here. I believe in this company. And they said no. I mean, that's making yourself vulnerable.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, right around that time, I applied to a few other startups, and a few of them, like, well, not yeah, a few, like, I'm no, like two more, were also like offering me another position, but like, then I saw at the same time that they were like, yeah, you can be like office manager, but what we want you to do pretty much is clean up after everybody else. Like, like
Right, right.
this thing that it still is like, you're taking everything I am and just like taking the value off of it and just giving me
Giving
this.
me, yeah, yeah,
And that's when you're like, well, I don't know. Like, is it really about willingness when people are trying to take advantage? But then you learn that with the right approach, and also when you approach the right people, then these people will see your value and they
mm,
see that you're putting yourself out there, and that maybe you don't have the skills, but you have this willingness to do whatever it takes to get such skills, and that is worth even more than having gone to whatever.
yeah. In the end, it's kind of just a piece of paper, but your core attitude and your core drive remains the same.
Exactly.
Yeah,
And I mean, I don't know, I sometimes like think that the thing that expats have a lot of times is this willingness to do more, to prove themselves. We don't want to be the foreigner that came to Germany. Like, something that I always think to myself is, I don't want to be the foreigner that came to Germany to take advantage
yeah,
of Germany
yeah,
and all these amazing things Germany has to be. No,
yeah,
like, I want to be the expat that came to Germany and made a difference and did her best and gave her best, and like, whatever Germany gives her is because she's giving back
yeah,
to Germany.
yeah,
Like, and that is something that is very important to me,
yeah.
because I hate the stereotype of like, well, a lot of people told me, well, aren't you lucky that you moved to Germany from Mexico? I'm like, why?
No.
They're like, well, Germany is like a first world country.
Yeah,
And I'm like, yes, but you're talking from a bubble, from a point of view that you don't understand. A lot of times, us expats are leaving behind a world and a life of comfort with
yeah,
our families, with our friends, with the way our lives worked. I mean, in Mexico, it's very common to have help. You have house help. You
yeah.
have someone that cuts your grass. You have
South
somebody that
Africa as
cleans
well.
your
Yeah,
house. You have a
yeah,
nanny. You have someone that puts gas in your car. Somebody that
yeah.
bags your groceries.
In fa-
Someone that
in fact, it's funny you should say that. The first time I had to put gas in my car was here in Germany. Like, I had never done that back in South Africa before.
me
Yeah,
too.
yeah,
And I'm like, you don't know what you're talking about. I
yeah.
mean, the first time, very embarrassingly to say, the first time I had to clean a toilet was in Germany.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
had someone literally.
yeah,
And so it's not all rainbows and butterflies moving to a first world country from
Mm.
what people here think it's a hard life
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
I think us and expats are sacrificing, not sacrificing, but we're like facing a lot of challenges that people perhaps don't really understand.
Yeah.
And yet we're facing the stereotypes that are
Yeah.
totally unfair because we want to fit in. It's just hard to find this opportunity to people to let us try.
Yeah. Yeah. It's so true. It's a
Hmm.
very good point, Veronica. Also, in this LinkedIn post, you wrote, "It turns out it's never too late, and there's no such thing as too old." Was there a time when you thought making a career change now would be a problem?
I mean, let's be honest. When you're coming from a job where you've been working for 10 years, I mean, my work in Mexico, I was working for 10 years.
Mm,
I was very good at what I was doing. I was well known, I was recognized, I was valued.
yeah.
And then, I mean, I thought at that moment, I thought I'm 35, I have two kids, I don't fluently speak the language. Maybe I am too old and maybe
Yeah.
I won't make it. Because on top, it's another country. I don't know anybody. Nobody knows me.
Yeah.
Like, who am I asking for help?
Yeah. And yet here you are, and you got your job, and you're making it work.
Yes, and that's totally made the difference. To be
Yeah.
honest, I am finally proud to say that I am happy in Germany, and it took 2 years and 10 months to be able to say I'm fine. It's crazy because usually you're like after a month you're like, oh, I can live here. Like I remember in Chicago, I was like, after a few weeks I was like,
I
oh,
could.
all good, all good. And here, like really at least 2 years, I was like,
Takes time.
if somebody would ask me would you go back to Mexico, I'd be like, tonight.
Yeah.
I don't even need clothes, let's go.
Like that. I don't need to pack any of this.
Yeah,
We
I
can
leave
fly now.
everything, let's go.
We'll come back to your current situation in a minute. I just want to do the last 2 points that you wrote as well, which I think are valuable for people to hear. Is, and this is maybe for me the most important one, is your CV doesn't define you or your worth, which I really like. That it's like, I think there's a lot of focus on the CV for foreigners who are looking for a job, because you get rejected or accepted based on what's in your CV, but you need to somehow show employers that there's more to that than, or talk around it, or kind of, it's a difficult situation because you don't want to be limited by your CV.
Exactly, and I feel like a lot of the times the problem is that you might have had a great experience at a company in your home country, or you went to a great university, but that doesn't mean anything to people here because they
Yeah.
don't know it.
Yeah.
Even if it's the best university of Mexico, for example, let's just put it as an example,
Yeah.
that will mean nothing to
Yeah.
people here unless they worked or lived in Mexico and then they can recognize the name. But that's usually not the case,
Yeah.
right?
99% of the time, it's not going to be the case.
Exactly. So I think the challenge for us as foreigners here is to work around it, to prove that there is more
Hmm.
than this, right? To somehow find a way to stand out. Let it be by stalking the company. I mean, honestly, my boss, the CEO, at some point somebody asked him about how he ended up hiring me, because I am not shy to tell the story.
Yeah.
And he was like, she didn't give me a choice. Like literally, she did not. I had no other choice. Like she.
There was no backing out of it for
Yeah,
us. You
yeah,
don't understand. We didn't actually hire her. She hired herself.
yeah, exactly. She would have gone to talk to my mother next.
Something tells me you're not kidding, Veronica.
Definitely not. But like in life, you gotta fight for what you want, and I knew that I wanted this company,
Yeah. Yeah.
and I had to do something to stand out and to make them give me a chance when I knew my CV was not speaking for myself,
Yeah.
because I had already tried for a year to get a
Yeah.
job.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the last point that you made is dreams are renewable, and if you fight for them hard enough, they do come true, which I like. It's not, your dreams don't have to be static and can
Exactly.
be
I mean,
adjusted.
a new life in a new country will mean that probably your dream somehow will have to shift or change or modify.
Yeah.
And maybe it's a little bit harder to fight for them, right? Because we're all facing all our expat struggles anyways.
Yes. Yeah.
But it gets better. I know it's super hard. Like, if someone just moved in 2 weeks ago and is listening, I would say, I totally feel what you're going through. And I know that it's super hard. And I know that it sucks.
Yeah.
Like, full on capital letters sucks. But it gets better.
Yeah.
And even though it might not seem like it, you're really not alone.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of people going through the same thing, and you can reach out. I mean, I am always happy to get some people sometimes write me on LinkedIn. They're like, I'm having the hardest time and I read your post and I don't know what to do. And I'm always happy to like talk to people and try and share tips or whatever, because I know how much it sucks
Yeah.
those first months.
Yeah. Well, since we've been in touch, I've looked at your LinkedIn account, and I can definitely say you write a lot of posts that I think can help people. So it is. I'll put in the show notes a link to your LinkedIn profile, and people can get in touch with you on LinkedIn if they want to talk or discuss these things. It's Veronica Hoitzel.
It's a hard last name, yeah.
Huitzel, yeah. But look in the show notes. It's the link to the profile will be in there. To finish off, I want to ask one last question about you're happy now. You're feeling like you've got a good job. You've, I assume, found a way to, as much as possible, balance career with life with kids and so on. What was it that kept you here for so long when things were going, like, how you said if someone came to you, you would have gone in a second back to Mexico in those first 2 years?
No.
Why didn't you?
To be honest, I had this conversation with my husband a lot, and he was super supportive. He told me, like, if you cannot do it, we will go back. But he was like, all I am asking you is that you give this a chance for at
Right.
least 2 to 3 years. That's all I'm
Yeah.
asking for you. If,
Yeah.
if after this time you tell me, I hate my life, I need to go back to Mexico, then we find a way. And I was like, that is a very sensible request,
Yeah.
because I knew from living abroad before that things cannot be good after a month
Yeah.
sometimes, and
Yeah.
all of this.
Yeah.
So we talked about this, we agreed to this, and we were very open about it. And I was very open, and I had him as support, to be honest. But that's
Yeah.
what I was like, all right, this makes sense. Let's wait. So that's actually what kept me, I
Okay.
think. Man, there were times when I was like, there was one time that I was like, I'm leaving. Like,
I don't
yes,
think you
yes.
and the kids are coming. I'm out of here.
I was like, I don't care. If somebody wants to come with me, you're more than welcome, but I cannot be in this country anymore.
Well, I think it's amazing how you made it work, and I think that there's a lot that people can learn from your story about how far you can go with, just trying to make an opportunity for yourself and get in the doors that you want to get into. So I appreciate you coming on the podcast to tell your story, and yeah, thank you.
Thank you. This is super, super exciting. I was so happy when we got connected, and I was super excited to be here. That's why I was like, when are we doing it? When are we doing it?
Yes, I definitely notice how positive and passionate you are. Just from the few chats that we've had on LinkedIn, and also from this chat now. So it's been a pleasure. Thank you for joining me. And yeah,
Thank you, Sean.